What's up guys, Mike here, and as we all know, the Los Angeles Clippers just lost in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals, which means, of course, the Kawhi Leonard drama is just getting started. I say this because while leading into these playoffs and during the playoffs, most people have reported that Kawhi Leonard is going to stay in Los Angeles. Just today, there have been some recent developments that should really make us think, because in an article posted today by The Ringer's Kevin O'Connor, titled "The Clippers Are at a Crossroads, Run It Back or Blow It Up," we certainly have received some interesting news. So if you didn't know, Kawhi Leonard currently has a player option that he can accept or decline next season. In all likelihood, just because it makes financial sense, Kawhi probably will decline that player option, and then he is free to sign wherever he wants. And yes, he can re-sign with the Los Angeles Clippers. However, according to Kevin O'Connor himself in his article, quote, "The Mavericks and Heat plan to make a hard push to acquire Leonard, league sources say. The Knicks will also pursue any superstar that becomes available, and a long list of suitors would at least make an attempt if he hits the mark. Who wouldn't want a 30-year-old two-time finals MVP that is still performing at an all-star level?" Now, with that in mind, in this video, we are only going to focus on three teams. We are going to focus on the Dallas Mavericks, the Miami Heat, and the Los Angeles Clippers, because personally, I'm trying to keep this as realistic as possible, and Dallas and Miami have been linked to Kawhi for a long time. So is Los Angeles, so I just want to get this out of the way right now. During a conversation with Zach Lowe, Woj did state, "I think Kawhi is staying with the Clippers. He hasn't said that publicly, and he probably won't until the day he signs that contract. I know there's been some mention of Miami. Could Miami be a sleeper for him? I think he's where he wants to be geographically. I think he's gotten along very well with the organization, with management, with ownership." So with that statement alone, yes, you might be thinking, and it might be very possible, that Kawhi Leonard will re-sign with the Los Angeles Clippers. However, recently, Stephen A. Smith has come out and said about Kawhi Leonard going to Miami, Kawhi Leonard might come there because, undercover-wise, his relationship with Jimmy Butler is pretty damn good. So that means let's focus on the Miami Heat right now, because there are actually several reasons why Kawhi Leonard would choose to sign with Miami. Now, first thing right off the bat, Kawhi, during the second round of the playoffs, was quoted as saying, "I don't care about the Western Conference Finals. I'm trying to win a championship." Now, take that statement however you want to. To me, that means, though, Kawhi Leonard and his team are very conscious of his future. Yes, they fully understand that the Los Angeles Clippers did make the Western Conference Finals this season. However, they also understand that the Suns are a great team in the West, and that several other teams in the Western Conference suffered bad injuries this season, so the playoff landscape was not exactly what it should have been. Next season, the Western Conference is going to be a whole lot tougher, especially when you consider that the Golden State Warriors are expected to take a leap. They are expected to trade James Wiseman and their number 7 pick for another all-star level player. So again, the West is going to be tough. With that said, sure, the Los Angeles Clippers definitely would be one of the better teams in the West next season. However, would they be better than the Miami Heat or the Dallas Mavericks, who we'll get into later in this video? My answer to that is probably not. I think that when it comes to Miami, the pairing of Kawhi along with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo just makes a ton of sense. All they need is either to retain or sign a playmaker for that roster, and they very well immediately could be the second best team in the East behind the Brooklyn Nets, and we've seen the Brooklyn Nets injury problems, especially when you consider the injuries to Joel Embiid, the Ben Simmons situation, and the injuries to Giannis. Now, what makes this even more of a possibility to me is that, just like Stephen A. Smith said, Kawhi Leonard does low-key have a very great relationship with Jimmy Butler, and he respects his game a ton. In fact, if we're looking backwards in time, Kawhi wanted to play with Jimmy on the Clippers over Paul George. That was his first choice. He wanted Jimmy. Once Jimmy signed with the Miami Heat, then Kawhi was cool with teaming up with Paul George. So first of all, in order for the Heat to sign Kawhi, they would have to let Victor Oladipo become a free agent. Then, once they do that, from what I'm seeing, the Miami Heat would not be able to just dump contracts and sign Kawhi Leonard outright. They would have to get Los Angeles to agree to a sign and trade. And the thing is, of course, the Los Angeles Clippers never would accept a deal such as Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic, and Andre Iguodala, as well as some draft picks for Kawhi Leonard if they had a choice. However, if Kawhi just straight up tells them, "Hey, I'm leaving. If you want to get some value out of me, then we've got to do a sign and trade," well, then that pushes the Clippers in a corner, and they very well could and should end up accepting that deal, because if they don't accept that deal, well, then that doesn't mean Kawhi has to re-sign with the Clippers. That means Kawhi can just go and sign with a team like the Dallas Mavericks. Hope you guys like that transition. So with the Dallas Mavericks, we have a very interesting situation that goes beyond beyond just the basketball court here, because there has been, and I think this is just the only way we can describe this, turmoil, sketchiness within the Dallas Mavericks front office and their coaching staff. The Dallas Mavericks longtime head coach Rick Carlisle is gone. The Dallas Mavericks longtime general manager Donnie Nelson is gone. From the outside looking in, it certainly looks like there are some problems in Dallas, and so that's why I'm a little skeptical about Kawhi being linked to Dallas, because if I was looking at that as a free agent, I would see uncertainty there, just being honest. However, according to Kevin O'Connor in the same Ringer article I brought up in the beginning of this video, he said Dallas is considered by some executives to be the most serious threat to land Kawhi because of Luka Doncic's presence and the front office's ability to create maximum cap space or work out a sign and trade. And guys, listen to this. This is very important. During Leonard's years with Nike, he also developed a good relationship with Nico Harrison, the Mavs' new general manager and former longtime executive at the company. Now, with that statement in mind, if you're Kawhi Leonard, if you've been suffering through some injuries lately, then yeah, possibly you don't want to be the #1 option by far anymore. Because with the Clippers, let's be honest, we all see Kawhi Leonard as option 1, and then we see Paul George as option 2. If Kawhi were to go to the Miami Heat like we referenced, I still would see Kawhi as option 1 and then Jimmy as option 2. However, if he were to go to the Dallas Mavericks, where Luka Doncic, who is just 22 years old and already made the first team All-NBA this season, well then, if that signing were to occur, I'm sure the two would talk it out, and I'm sure they would see themselves as option 1A and 1B. With Luka and Kawhi, the Dallas Mavericks would legitimately have 2 stars on their roster, and that would be very scary. Yes, I know I was just talking about how the Eastern Conference would be easier, but with that said, if you're Kawhi and you have the chance to play with Luka for the remainder of your prime, I mean, wouldn't you take it? Because the thing is, I just mentioned the injuries. Kawhi is only going to get older and older. That means that if I were him, especially with the load management stuff that we've already seen, I would want to play with a player who could take over on any given night and kind of give me a break. And Luka is certainly that type of player. He's only going to get better. And not only that, if you're looking from Kawhi Leonard's eyes here, keep this in mind. Luka Doncic led the Dallas Mavericks to a 7-game series against the Los Angeles Clippers with a healthy Kawhi Leonard. This is the same Clippers team that would go on to make the Western Conference Finals without Kawhi Leonard. That just goes to show you just how legit Luka is and how much respect Kawhi Leonard probably has for him. They have played in the playoffs now for 2 consecutive seasons. Kawhi sees what Luka can do. I think counting Dallas out of the Kawhi Leonard sweepstakes would just be foolish, honestly. Kawhi has a great relationship with the Mavericks general manager. And also Luka Doncic, that's all I've got to say there. So now, how do the Dallas Mavericks get this accomplished? Well, luckily, and this is not true of the Miami Heat, Kawhi Leonard could sign with the Dallas Mavericks outright if he opts out of his contract. All the Dallas Mavericks have to do is get rid of the contracts of Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber. That is what, to me, puts the Mavericks in such a great position right now. They, to just put it simply, are going to be able to move contracts like that. They could also move a contract like Willie Cauley-Stein if they had to as well. And by trading away those players, the Mavericks are going to be able to keep Luka. They're also going to be able to keep Kristaps Porzingis, and then they'd be able to add in Kawhi Leonard. Plus, I've got to say, I would love Luka teaming up with another star. I mean, Luka himself has already been incredible. If he could just get another guy on the Mavericks, then man, that team is going to be dangerous. Now, we are going to finish this video off with the simple case for why Kawhi Leonard would stay in Los Angeles. And that case goes as follows. 1, a lot of people have said that they think that Kawhi Leonard is going to stay. However, that is all just speculation because Kawhi has a very big reputation for not really letting on his intentions. He has not committed to the Los Angeles Clippers. He has not really said much. People are just assuming that Kawhi is going to stay because he does love Los Angeles and because the team made the Western Conference Finals this season, which to me is a very reasonable point why Kawhi could stay in Los Angeles. I mean, it would not be crazy at all to say that the Clippers would have beaten the Suns and could have very well been NBA champions this year with the injuries to Giannis and the injuries to basically every other NBA star. Also, as we just saw in those Western Conference Finals, I think Paul George took a pretty sizable leap in the public eye in terms of his playoff performances. And so because of that, because the Clippers do have a very solid roster, because just in general, it's always easier to stay somewhere than leave for somewhere else, then sure, Kawhi Leonard very well could end up staying with the Los Angeles Clippers this season. However, until he signs that contract, I'm just saying it, do not count out the Miami Heat or the Dallas Mavericks. With that said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, have an awesome day, guys,